I will just start, maybe Slacks, if you could, just, really want to thank you guys, for this opportunity, obviously for my family and I to be here. Extremely excited about it. I know how important this relationship is as well as we go through the course of the season and the games. And so I just want you guys to know it'll be transparent, it'll be open and honest. I look forward to these relationships, I really do, and look forward to you guys being a part of my life and this as we continue forward.
Questions for Coach?
If you could, walk us through the timeline of the last couple of weeks, when you got the call and when you said yes, and what has that been like?
Certainly really exciting. I mean, it was a little bit of a surprise, as you know, with Liam being announced at Tampa when he was. I've known Coach Stoops for about 3-4 years now. Probably received the call mid last week. Knew it was something I was going to do probably over the weekend. Came out here and have been here since Monday. So,
what can we expect out of your offense? Is it going to be the Boise State offense, or will it be Missouri? Or?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think it always starts. Maybe you guys get tired of hearing this, but it always starts with personnel. I think what is week one? Week one is analyzing the roster. We know players win games, get a good feel of what these guys can do and putting them in the best position. I think the second thing is variance and tempo. Okay, that's been something over the course of the years. We know there's going to be certain games where we got to play fast. We know there's going to be certain games that we got to play slower, control the clock. But it's a pro-style foundation. It is. There's a lot of continuity there, but there's such an emphasis, in our opinion, on creating explosive plays. And we got to do that with creativity. We got to do that with variance in formation and personnel, and that is the focus.
Bush, Nick Roush from KSR. You said you had a relationship with Mark Stoops before. How, the last time you all talked about this position, what's kind of changed between then and now, and how you coach?
Yeah, I think just more experience. I think that's so valuable. Certainly for me, it was an opportunity to get 2 more years at Missouri with Eli Drinkwitz. It was an opportunity to go to Boise State and put it together again. But certainly, just like anything, a different time in your life. This time I think on both ends it felt really, really good, and I really believe all roads have led me to this job.
Boise's in a great position where maybe a league contender for a playoff spot from that group of 5 bid. It's your alma mater. I know there's more resources, more pay here, but how difficult was the decision, I guess, of what made Kentucky put you over the top?
Yeah, probably the most difficult of my career. Certainly, I think, you look at probably exactly what was done over the last 3-4 months there, the retention of Ashton Genty, bringing in the quarterback, bringing in 2 receivers. That place obviously will always hold a special place in my heart. I think for me, between Mark Stoops, between Mitch Barnhart, their tenure here speaks to their commitment of Kentucky and what they've done here. It's the SEC. It's the 3rd time I've been here. I know what this conference is all about. Anybody in coaching wants to be the best, and I think this conference certainly forces you to do that. And I remember those days. I do, of being at Florida, being at Missouri, coming to Kroger Field, knowing what this place is about, knowing what the fan base is about, and the mixture of those 3 things just made this a job I couldn't pass up on.
Bush, the last 2 years here, pace of play has been a big talking point. Just wonder if you could elaborate a little more about, in the job interview process, how important was it for you to Mark kind of show that you could get this offense playing faster?
Sure. Yeah, I think the statistics always say just about everything. I think we were probably in the top 40 last year in pace of play. Again, a unique thing about Kentucky to me is always how well they've played in all 3 phases. I know this is a program that Brad's done a tremendous job with the defense. So this term of complementary football, how are we going to win games, I think is the critical factor there. And like I said, the reason variation in tempo is so important is because different games are going to call for different styles, if you will. And so we really believe we were able to show that this past year at Boise, the last couple years at Missouri. But the ability to get up there, play fast, play smart, play together, I think is critical.
Coach,
Coach, you guys, there's been a lot of talk about the timing of this hire. Just, you know, a little later in the process after most of your transfer guys, that portal window closed. Can you just talk about the timing and being so close to spring practice, all that, just kind of how you're going to integrate everything at the time that you're hired?
I think that's a critical thing for coaches these days in general. I mean, there's so many moving parts that gone are the days of, hey, it's the third year working with a guy and now we're on the same page. I mean, it's our job ultimately to take a position, get guys up to speed pretty fast, develop that trust and that knowledge of the playbook. So it's something I look forward to. I think it's a good challenge as a teacher to be able to put plans together, if you will, lesson plans together and make it easy to learn. And we're excited that we're starting this thing probably here in about 3-4 weeks.
Soon, ink's still drying, but what do you think about the roster? How much have you dug into, these guys that they have here on offense, and how excited are you to work with them?
Yeah, certainly you probably get about 2-3 days to get a feel for that roster, right, in the process of what do they look like. Certainly I know the history of Kentucky, right, like what the fronts look like, the physicality. I just saw those guys yesterday up front, their size. Really feel they can be an extremely competitive group in the SEC. But I'm really optimistic about some of these skill players. I'm not going to get into, singular guys, but I'm watching tight ends that can run. I'm watching wide receivers, in my opinion, that are elite type NFL type players, and certainly excited about the quarterback room.
I was going to ask about that quarterback room too. What do you think about those guys, and especially some newer faces that aren't as fresh as you are?
Yeah, you guys know this, man. You don't take the job unless you feel pretty good about that quarterback room and the acquisitions they have. So I'm excited, certainly to work with all those guys, and I know they're eager to, and Brock and a lot of those guys have already been by, and excited to get to work with them.
Bush, I believe that you said part of your rushing attack was based on that you were with the Falcons running Kyle Shanahan's offense. How similar is that to what Kentucky's done working out of that same tree the last 3 years?
Yeah, I think the reason it's a great fit is because I do think there is a lot of similarities probably into what Liam's done maybe in LA and what we did in Atlanta and over the course of our time together. But I would like to think of this as been to the NFL, done the NFL thing, and I've really felt I've made it as college friendly as we can. And that's the overall goal. That's where the pro-style foundation comes from, the schemes, making the run look like the pass, everything looking the same. But how can we make it simple enough for these players, to your guys' point, some of which are going to be, operating this offense in 2-3 weeks, and we got to get them to be able to play fast and play together.
Can you talk about just your style as a coach?
Yeah, I think I'm probably a little bit more laid back in the meeting rooms and on the day-to-day, and there's a part, as you know, of many coaches where you flip that switch when you get on the field. But I always just really believe, and it's always about those relationships and those connections with the players. I think more than ever now, even though it doesn't seem like that, those relationships are as important, because there's a lot of having to navigate college football and the world we're living in. Starts with relationships, being extremely detailed, and having a passion for what you do.
Bush produced a 1,000-yard rusher all 3 years. Then this past year we saw more QB run out of the Boise offense. Can you just talk about how important it is in your offense to establish the run, and maybe how important it is, you mentioned college friendly as possible, is maybe to involve the QB in the run game?
I think it's critical. I really do. I think I really believe that quarterback's got to at least get you 2 first downs a game with his legs. And I think it can be a huge, huge advantage, especially in the college game. You look at what I did, maybe at Missouri with Brady Cook, and you guys know that was one of his redeeming qualities into the player he's become. I just think there's always a fine line, right, of not running him too much and taking hits there, but I really believe that it's got to be an integral part of your system.
You've been to every level, from G5 out to Pac-12 and then the NFL. What is it about the SEC that separates itself from those different? What characteristics about coaching in it?
Yeah, I think the saying of it just means more is really true. I think it's the passion of the fan bases, certainly the level of athlete that you're prepping for, schematics, the offenses, the defenses. This is a competitive environment, 365 days of the year. You guys know it, and it's something that you want to be a part of.
How difficult is it to incorporate the NFL with college games?
I think it's really, really difficult. I do. I think in a lot of ways, whether it's the communication through the helmet, whether it's the professionals now in year 6, 7, 8, and their knowledge of the game, I think you have to do a really, really good job of watching that game, conceptualizing what they're trying to do, but also making it college friendly. And I think that's been the biggest progress for me over the last 5-6 years.
Coach, you more no huddle kind of guy than it would be if it was in the NFL?
Yeah, I would say we generally are a non-huddle operation about 60% of the time. We still have the ability to huddle, but not necessarily meaning we just go fast all the time, but we have the ability, our base is to be a no-huddle operation.
Coach, there's been a lot of talk around here about the offensive line the last few years. Wrestling just a couple years ago, and then this year it's a little better, but early on, this foundation was built on successful offensive line. They bring in a new offensive line coach just a few weeks ago. What's that look like to you to get them integrated and to make progress in that position group?
Critical. I mean, I think any program you look at, it always starts with the fronts on both sides of the football. And so extremely excited about Eric Wolford and getting to know him and his pedigree. If we can get those guys playing on the same page, it makes things a lot easier for everybody else, as you know. Oftentimes, think about the details start with where the ball is, and the most details at that center position and as it moves outward. And so I think creating that rhythm, creating those concepts for those guys, again, to keep it similar for them, allow them to play fast and be on the same page is a huge objective.
The college friendliness of the offense, how much of that is coming back on terminology? Because it seems like there's been a lot of terminology in the offense that's led to some slower plays developing and late in the play clock and delay games and all that.
I think it's critical, and I think the biggest challenge is less is more at times, and really trying to identify what are those schemes that are really going to carry over to the season. And at the end of the year, right, did you run those schemes 20 times or more? And what was the efficiency percentage? And what was the explosive percentage? So if you can identify those, that's the start of it for me. And then from a verbiage standpoint, it's how can we cut words? How can guys just know when we call this concept, this is the alignment, and it allows it. The play calls are easier. I think it's easier on the players, and you can go play fast.
Some coaches like to be play callers on the field, and some like to be in the coaching box and call them plays. What is more beneficial to you as to where you are?
I really enjoy coffee, so I like being upstairs. I just, my whole career I've been upstairs, and that's definitely the preference. I know there's times, certainly with the quarterbacks, where sometimes they like you down on the field and that communication, but being up top is nice. You can see the game. You can be in a comfortable environment, and that's definitely what I prefer. So.
How do you take your coffee?
Straight black.
How do you deal with the quarterback then in that situation? Just talking to him as they come off the field through headsets? What do you?
Yeah, certainly. Whether it's through the phones, obviously we'll always have a graduate assistant down there who knows exactly the heartbeat of what we're trying to get done. But there's just a part of being up there. I think that's been an advantage for me over the course of my career.
You coached Jim Ward as a young guy at Missouri already. What was he like then, and what have you seen difference maybe in the film from what he did in North Texas?
He was awesome. I mean, the guy is a worker. I think that's the first thing I'd say about J-Mo. Certainly, again, I just go back to that trust and developing that trust in him. We thought we did the right thing. We did. We had good conversations at Missouri, and even when he left me, it's funny. I think we were talking probably about 2-3 weeks ago. He was calling and asking me his opinion on some different places, and so it's one of those full circle moments. Maybe in the craziness of college football, that's one story, at least for me and my family, to be able to come back and work with him. It's one of those things that's super special to me.
When you were with the Falcons, Sark had taken over for Kyle, obviously running the same type of offense but putting his own fingerprints on it. What did you learn about that from that year that applies to what you're going to do now?
I think just the great marriage, if you will, between the run game and the pass game. I think certainly the detail of that NFL game, but in Kyle's system, the ability to run the mid zone or the wide zone and have the keepers off of it and the play action and making everything look the same. I think it's left a huge impact on me and just how I look at offense, if you will. I think there's 1,000 plays. But I really believe if you can build those plays off of one another, make everything look the same to the defense from a presentation standpoint, you can have a huge advantage.
There's been, over the years, a lot of staples have been the running back room here. And you talked about the quarterback room, but you talked just a minute ago about merging those to the run game and the pass game.
Sure.
What have you seen out of that running back room early on, just from film studies, getting to meet those guys?
Yeah, and just being as honest with you, haven't spent enough time just yet. You're just in the first couple days, but I will say this: this program, I mean that, playing at Kentucky has always. You better be ready for a physical day, And I think it certainly starts with that run game, and I can't get over that. There's a stat for us at Boise over the course of 3-4 years when we rushed for 150 yards, we were 34-2. And you guys know it. You can run the ball, you're going to have a pretty good chance. And so it always starts with that. Certainly excited to get to work with these guys. It's been mentioned, I think, in just about every year I've been calling plays, having a 1,000-yard rusher. So the stats don't lie. That's going to be something extremely important to us and creating the explosives off of that.
Bush, as far as the passing, you had a situation in Washington where you had this experienced quarterback in Jake Brown, and then the next year you're getting a new transfer, and he had produced similar results. So what's the sort of, it's kind of similar here, you had an experienced Evan Leary, new guy who hasn't played a lot. How do you, what does the new guy have to pick up on your offense and learn quickly to be able to be successful?
I think it's twofold. I think the mistake a little bit is, hey, here's my offense, and you kind of learn it. It's when you start to figure out who that guy is, what does he do well? There's certain concepts that some of these guys have been running ever since they were in the 7th grade, and when the game's on the line and there's 61,000 fans out there, like what are they going to be able to execute? So I think that's critical. I don't think there's a more important relationship maybe in football than the coordinator and the starting quarterback. So that's the starting point is, hey, what do you feel comfortable with? You do understand that a lot of teams have a lot of carryover in schemes, maybe not in terminology, but it's getting on the same page with him.
I've watched a lot of football over the years, seeing our coaches on the sideline get in the player's face when he comes off the field, especially when he made a mistake. And then coaches, I guess, how they communicate that, I guess, coming from the press box. What is the difference in how important it is?
Just how you handle your players?
Yeah, we're coming off field and made a mistake, how they made a good play, and
Yeah.
especially when they made a mistake, to get, the kind of get their pace and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's certain give or take. I think, you're alluding to being maybe upstairs in the box again, but I just think there's just got to be constant communication, and as you know, the other side of the ball may be out there for a long time. Again, get them the proper information. Certainly we all know, hey, you got to push your guys' buttons one way or another, and I still think all that can be accomplished.
Bush, I was going to ask, you're not going to be the 5th offensive coordinator in many years here. During this interview process, did Marcus Stoops ever say, knock on wood, we really don't want to be hiring your replacement again next year because you're done?
I think so. I think there certainly had to be that commitment, I felt like, for him and and I think it's there, as you know, in this day and age in college football, man, more than ever, you got to take one day at a time. And that's the biggest thing. I think today's a big day, tomorrow's a big day. I also think I understand this is the SEC. These jobs don't come up, open very often, and I'm well aware of that. So a lot of gratitude to having the opportunity to have this position, know the task at hand, and I'm excited to be here.
Building off that, Bush, you're a confident guy, confident coach. Obviously, your resume speaks for it. But no matter who you are, going into a new job, you got some jitters, right? It's just natural. What are some jitters for you? Feelings, worries? How are you feeling?
I kind of feel like that's been a huge plus maybe for my career. It's that losing sleep, thinking about, man, is our 2-point menu good enough? And that's in the off season. We're thinking what needs to be added to the goal line package. So I just want this offense. We're going to be on the attack. That's all we've known. That's all we've ever known. Worrying about the expectations and worrying about the strength of schedule. It is what it is. We signed up for it. There's acceptance there, but we're going to be on the attack, and I kind of view some of that stuff as a huge positive.
Looking at your resume, and then, what the many places you've been, the many things you've done on the football field, it almost, from the outside looking in, like a cram session. How have you been able to, sort of matriculate through all that?
Yeah, it's hard because I know maybe you look at the resume and there's certainly been a lot of moves. But I think of it like this. I had an opportunity to be the receiver coach, caught a big break at the University of Washington. The next opportunity was an NFL opportunity. I was 30 years old, had an opportunity to go experience what that looked like. Came back to Washington, a year later as the offensive coordinator. Couldn't pass that up. Went to Missouri. Had an opportunity in my alma mater to call plays again. So, it's just the nature of, in my opinion, this profession where, if you're going to be kind of into doing this thing, you got to do it, and where it speaks volumes. And again, for me, the opportunity to be here was one I couldn't pass up. I would say this: you make the moves, but it's ingrained in you. Your passion for your side of the ball, your passion for coaching the position you coach, and although you might be at different places, you never lose the constant state of improvement in those areas.
What's your relationship with Chris Peterson, just from playing for him to getting into the house?
Yeah, it's been one of those relationships for me that's like a second father. He's been a guy. When you play for a man like that and you're young and you're 18 and you're 19, you're not necessarily sure, am I going to be a coach or not? But you're like, I want to be like that guy. And so in some ways I owe a lot to him for my professional career, not because of any direction he took me, but just because I wanted to be like him in a lot of ways. And I valued his relationship and his work and him as a father, and that's always going to be somebody for me that's extremely important.
You were the backup there for a long time.
Forever.
Yeah.
Forever. Come on, man.
But a lot of, if it's now and you don't get that starting job your senior year, you transfer. So
Sure.
What did you learn? What lessons did you take from that you can apply now?
Yeah, I think it was a tough decision, certainly because there wasn't the transfer portal back then, but there was still on my mind of, hey, you're putting a lot of time in and wanting to play, if you will. I just think you got to be real. You got to be real. You got to be authentic. You got to be genuine. If it's a player that's doing everything the right way and deserves his opportunity, I think you got to be willing to tell him that. But certainly for me at that time, my commitment to Boise State taught me a lot. It was looking back at it, was a decision that was a big foundation for me in my life, and really choosing to be about the team more than just myself. And that's one of those decisions that I do value, and I'm glad I made.
Coach Marrow has been here since Mark came, and he's known as this great recruiter, and then kind of Eric's reputation as being a good recruiter. How do you kind of see yourself as a recruiter? Is that something that seems to be valued so much here, especially with the addition of the portal?
It's critical. If you're going to be in college, there's no escape in that, right? There's the job of recruiting and there's the job of development. I'm confident in the ability to make relationships and build that trust. I think one of the hardest parts about probably leaving Boise was what we accomplished there from a recruiting standpoint. I think we'd lost Taylon Green to Arkansas. We're able to pull in Malachi Nelson from SC. We're able to keep Ashton Jeanty. We're able to, in our opinion, sign 2 NFL-type receivers all in the last 3 months. And I do feel confident that roster is in good shape. And so I just think when you make that decision every year, whether it's going to be college or the NFL, if it's college, what that's going to be, and I think it's something I really look forward to.
How has the portal changed quarterback recruiting in particular? You're at a place where they just lost 3 and added 2 to the portal. You added Nelson at Boise State. How's that changed the quarterback market?
I think it's critical. It's another awesome challenge. Again, I don't look at this new age of college ball as something I'm complaining about. I think it's you better be out in front of it. You better understand that, if a guy's playing extremely well and maybe you're at a certain school, that there's a chance that somebody could come get him. But I think it's the challenge is there more than anything of these situations where you've got a new player, you've got 3 weeks or a month, you've got 2 to 3 months before he maybe makes his first start. And I think it just forces all of us coaches to be on it in our teaching, in our communication, and our ability to develop trust.
Your background is not the background of a lot of coaches born in Kuwait and so forth. I read that you really didn't get into football until your brother started playing. Is that right?
That's correct.
Do you feel like that's helped you, that you've had such a varied background coming into college football?
Yeah, I do. I think all of us, right? We all take our experiences and our adversity and what we've been through is always there to lean on. I think more so than anything, just for my parents, I think as hard as things get, there's just always that feeling of, I know what they've sacrificed, and you just got to keep carrying on and keep pushing on. And I'm very, very blessed. My story, my dad, probably his 30s and 40s were spent just trying to move us to this country and provide for us and put us in a safe environment. And I think about me at 22 getting in this profession, and it's been that sole focus. So I'm extremely blessed to have a father like that and what he did for us, and I don't take it lightly to make him proud.
Is there something, and I know you talked a little bit about just the culture of the SEC, but defenses in the SEC, do they vary dramatically from what you've spent the last 2 years going up against in Northwest?
I don't think so a ton. I mean, certainly there's a talent level, in the years, again, going back to Missouri of knowing what these defenses look like. Certainly it's an aggressive style, a lot of press coverage, a lot of variance in front. But we know the challenges. I know how good defenses are in this conference. And again, I think when you look at it, anytime you're a coach in this situation, you want to be the best and you want to go up against the best.